checking your emails. Over the next 2 weeks, please promise me you're checking your emails. Mrs. Napolis and I will be sending out confirmations. Where to go, what to wear, what your dates are, who your contact person is. And it's going to say on the bottom, you need to confirm this externship. Because you may have decided in February you wanted to do something, and here we are now getting ready to start June, and your plans may have changed. So you may need to be switched out of one. You may need to, maybe you thought you wanted to do medical, and now it's the end of the semester. You're so over biology that you don't want to do medical, and we might be able to put you in something else. So please look at these confirmations and confirm. Also, how many of you have not met with me or gotten an assignment yet? Okay, so about half of you guys. Please, please, please take advantage of the hall pass. A lot of you guys are done with classes, right? You've taken your exams, you're kind of in there just hanging out, whatever it might be. Take advantage. If you have free time in your classes, get a hall pass and come down to our office. I'm right next door to Brother Kevin's store. If I can see you, I will. If I'm in a meeting and I can't, try again. But please take advantage of the hall pass. Also, many of you guys have scheduled meeting with us in February and March, and it's now, right? And you forgot about it. So we're holding meetings for you after school or at night, and you're not showing up. So take a look at if you did schedule a meeting. When did I schedule that meeting? Okay, because that way, if you want to come during the day and you don't want to do it at night, free up my calendar, free up your calendar. You won't get hate mail from me saying, I'm here on Zoom waiting for you. Where are you? Right? So take advantage of your free time. Take advantage of lunchtime. Try after school. We're there as much as we possibly can be. We meet with you guys pretty quickly and go over the options. So let's do that. Any outstanding questions for me today? No? No questions for externships? Yes?
How does the double count? So that you're just signing today and you're counting as 2?
I'm counting it as 2 today.
Okay.
So what's gonna happen is I will, I do it internally on my side. I'll weigh it, and it'll show you going to 2. Yes?
So Ward 1 tomorrow,
I can't hear you.
is the Ward 1
So tomorrow, it counts as an actual seminar. If you are short of seminars, come tomorrow. Mrs. Napolis and I will both be here. We'll actually both have our laptops. So this is another opportunity for you guys to take advantage to have us here to go over stuff. Also, that being said, tomorrow, if you have done 10 or more, we have your certificates, and we'll be handing out the certificates, and we're also gonna have some snacks and stuff like that. It's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be extremely quick. What did I say? Quick. What does that mean? That you get out early, and yet it counts as a seminar, so this is a great one to pick up. Yes?
So if the Ward 1 is from 10 to tomorrow, is he scheduling for you?
I cannot hear you.
If your 10th seminar is the award, does that count for a
It does count for certificate, however, we may not have it printed for you tomorrow. You can come by our office. Any other questions while you guys are here? Once, twice, no? We're good? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our speakers for today. We have, thank you for coming. We're excited to welcome back 2 proud Columbus alumni, Kevin Testa. Anybody know the class? Okay, and Frank Andrew from the class of?
They're right behind you.
Okay, does anybody know what we're talking about today? And what do you guys think hospitality encompasses?
Taking care of people, like in hotels and stuff like that.
Kind of. What else?
Restaurants.
Restaurants. Anything else? Cruise ships. Yep. Anything else? Yeah, we're getting there. Awesome. Okay. So, like many of you, Kevin and Frank weren't even exactly sure of what they would look like, though their futures look like after graduation. Today, they're leaders in hospitality and beverage industries with years of experience in branding, marketing, and business growth. They're here to share their journey with you, lessons, pivots, and how they turned uncertainty into success. Let's welcome them, everybody.
All right,
Guys, thank you so much for coming. I'm Frank, this is Kevin, so you guys are not confused. I'm the younger looking one, for sure, and the older one. We're gonna meet, where did we meet? We actually, alright, so we met in the Eucharistic ministry at Columbus. So we were Eucharistic ministers together at Columbus, and we ended up in the Becker Job House, so thank you, Lord. So we'll go through, what we're gonna talk about today is hospitality. Colleen was talking about that. Hospitality is not just what you said, yeah, you're 100% right about the different kind of facets of the business. Yeah, it's restaurants, yeah, it's cruise ships, but it goes deeper than that. It's not just about chefs and waiters. It's not just about a manager at a hotel or a GM or a hotel or anybody that you see walking around hotel concierge. There's lawyers. There's a finance team. It gets really deep. That even though you say, oh, I want to be an accountant, but I really don't like being stuck in an office all day and not have fun. The hospitality industry also needs that. Construction, building hotels, building restaurants. That's a facet of hospitality as well. And even some people, for example, the Moss family. The Moss family are in tech, and now they own an entertainment venue with it, which is the Inter Miami team, which that is hospitality as well. So even up to sports, you can go to the hospitality section.
Yeah, I mean, so in general, I would say is if 90% of you put your hands up because you need one more externship, it's basically the slacker crew, I would say, is number one. Number two is you're probably not sure what you want to do, right? If there was a doctor who came up and talked to you, I'm sure there was someone from real estate, there might have been like a lawyer or something, right? Like, I can tell you, we had Mr. Schuller together. Yeah, so we had journalism or speech together back in the junior year. So we'll all go through our backgrounds, et cetera, but essentially, like, there's a whole world of things that you're not even thinking about. My brother, my best friend, other than Frank, my brother, actually the first word he ever said in life was airplane. He didn't say mom, he didn't say dad, he said airplane. All he ever wanted to do was be a pilot. He's a pilot, he's an Air Force pilot, he's a pilot for United Airlines, right? His dream came true. He flew at Tamiami Airport before he drove a car, right? My other best friend, it wasn't his first word, but like from the first, we played football together here, literally, hey, I'm gonna be a doctor. I will be a doctor. He's a doctor, right? So that was my best friend and my brother, right? So the guys that I was around all the time, and they unequivocally knew what they were gonna do, literally since the time they were like 12, right? My dream, I had two dreams. I thought of the coolest jobs in the world. I thought actually being a garbage man was actually a really cool job. Back in the day, they used to hang off the back of the garbage truck, so I thought that was really cool. And then if you've ever been to the airport, the guys that drive the luggage trucks around with the little things in the back, like the little golf carts, I just thought that was like a really cool gig. So, but the point being is like neither one of us, we left here and we had no idea there was no Miss Anderson back then, there was no internships. Mr. Foster was his name, he was our college counselor, and what he told us was applications are due in July. And that's literally all he told us, God rest his soul, et cetera, if he's still alive, I have no idea. Point is like, we didn't get any help, right? And so now is, you can listen to us, you can come to, I'm sure you've been to a couple of others, you can listen to them. I generally like to tell people like, there's not a lot of buffets anymore, but it's like a pre-COVID. Remember, you know what a buffet is? Remember, you got the whole thing of food, right? There used to be a good one on Blue Sky over on Bird Road. On a buffet, right, before you fill up your tray with food at the buffet on the first thing that they have, do yourself a favor and walk the whole buffet and see what else they have, right? So if they got vaca frita here that looks delicious, but down the road is arroz con pollo that looks even better. Well, if you filled up your plate with all this and you didn't even look down there, then you're gonna miss out on that, right? So the point is listen to us. Listen to the doctor who came in here. Listen to the real estate guy that came in here. Listen to everybody, right? Take it all in, and then you go, you know what? I'm gonna go with what that guy told me, right? I'm gonna go with what Miss Anderson told me about this externship or this internship. But listen to everything, because the reason why is, and you'll hear it from both of us, we didn't know where we were going, and it took us kind of looking at everything to say, you know what, I wasn't thinking about that, but that's where I'm gonna go, and then you end up in life kind of where you end up. So,
That's exactly the point. So we'll jump into this real quick. This is just the way how I ended up here, right? So I went to public school, from elementary school to junior high school. That's what it was called before we did middle school. Went to junior high school in public, in the public school system. I got to Columbus. This was nothing like what I intended when I came here. And I know some of the dads, alumni that are in here, some of the kids, they come here and they're blown away at the size of the school and this building didn't exist. So what I came to was not this at all. So I'm really proud of where we're at as a school, really proud that you guys are attending here and being able to take advantage of all these things that we have moving forward in the future. Then I went off to Miami-Dade, did that for a stint. Then I went off to California, and studied in California, went to Cal State. Then I came back and finished at the school hospitality at FIU. We'll talk about that a little bit throughout this little journey. After that, I went to work for Yahoo. Yeah, I went to work for Yahoo.com. Yahoo.com basically, was a geek. I loved computers, I loved the whole system, and I was basically put in charge of all the key accounts. And what our key accounts are, big accounts like American Express, Ford, Chevrolet, big companies like that, where they didn't have any presence on the internet. Right now, you go to Yahoo, you go to Google, you see all these type of advertisements for these brands, and that's what I was in charge of. And that was back in the day that nobody had an idea what a banner advertising is. When you go to search and you see like a sponsored logo of some brand that you're searching for, that's what I would sell, right? I left Yahoo, and I basically took almost a year off and tried to figure out what I wanted to do because I didn't want to go back into tech, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got literally one of my cousins that was in the industry said, hey, you should go and talk to Southern Wine and Spirits. Southern Wine and Spirits, if you guys don't know, is the largest distributor of alcohol in the world. They do about $26 billion in revenue, and they have about 26,000 employees. When I started there, I can still tell you to this day, I was employee number 100, or it's 136771, because when I saw that number, I was like, holy cow, that's how many people have come through this company. 136,777, and one person, and I thought that I was that one person, right? They did that for a stint for about 3 or 4 years, and then I went to the supplier side. And I'm gonna give you kind of a lesson in what I do. So there's a distributor, think of, a distributor. Think of like Ford, Chevrolet, Kia, right? And they have dealerships in the country, right? You drive by, how many dealerships do you guys drive by on a daily basis? There's a manufacturer of those cars. They don't manufacture, those dealerships don't manufacture cars. What they do is they resell the cars, right? So I worked for a company called Pernod Ricard, which manufactures the alcohol, that sells it to the distributor, which is Southern Wine and Spirits, and then they would resell it. I think that's the easiest comparison of what it was, how that works. Pernod Ricard is the second largest manufacturer of alcohol products, which is like Absolut, Kahlua, Malibu, things that you probably see at your parents' bars, or when you go into a liquor store with your parents, that's what you see. Did that for a while, then Southern came calling me back, went back to Southern to work for them as the distributor again, so I've actually worked for the company twice in my career. After that, I kind of said, me and Kevin had been talking for a while. I went to work for another company, another manufacturer, when I left Southern again for the second time, and I went to be a supplier for a brand called Macallan. Macallan is a very expensive, very, one of the best scotches in the world. Your dads probably have drank a bottle of Macallan or a couple of glasses of Macallan through their career. Did that for a while, and then talking to Kevin, I was like, man, I want to go do something on my own, because it's eventually, you get the itch. You've been making money for all these people. I worked for Pernod Ricard, I worked for Southern for a long time, and during that process, I saw how much money they were making, and I said, man, you know what, I can do this on my own. I can manufacture a product on my own. Then Kevin and I got together and created a company called FGM Wine and Spirits. So what FGM Wine and Spirits is, the company that we own together, which is basically, we bring brands to life. And how do you do, bringing a brand to life is, somebody comes up with an idea, and like Mile and Green, some of these brands, I'll talk to you about some of these pictures. So somebody comes up with the idea, you know, you guys come up with some idea and you need somebody to be able to put it together, okay? That's what we come in, so in the alcohol space. So somebody says, oh, I wanna make a tequila, or I wanna make a mezcal or a scotch. They come to us, we, you know, source the liquid, the glass, the labels, the product, and then we put it out into market. And at the same time, we handle all the distributors, like I said, the dealerships. We call on the dealerships per se, and we sell them the product and we hope the brand takes off. And that's what we do as a company. So these pictures, you see this is where it's taken me, although, you know, our business has taken us to different heights. So, you know who that is? Drake, right? Yeah, so, you know who these guys are? Over here in the corner? These two guys? Brian Cranston and Aaron Paul. Yeah. So we kind of specialize in a world of where the celebrities kind of play. Celebrities have these great ideas. We then put them together. We build the brand, and then we put it out to market. These are some of the brands that I've worked for, or I've owned, or I own a piece of. As you can see on the bottom, that's the first brand that I ever launched, which was EG Vodka, that's the actual jet of the owner, and he logoed it with the actual brand on the jet. So we've had a really good time doing this job, and this is pictures of the distillery. So again, going back, so this is actually where the product is made. So we find the distillery, we get everything from literally from the fruit that the product is made from, to the production, to the advertising that you see here. And you see that's Pharrell with these guys as well. And that's kind of the basis of how I ended up in this industry. You know, I figured out at one point that I said, you know, look, I spent almost 9 years working for companies. And I figured out at one point, I said, you know what, I want to go do this on my own. So it took 8 years, 9 years to get the testicular fortitude, you know, to have the balls to go out on my own and do this. And it's taken me, I've been very fortunate, you know, to have a great partner in Kevin, to be able to do these things and build these brands together. And we've been, as you can see, we've done everything with these guys.
All right, yeah, so in that, it was a different route. So we parted ways after high school. I went to Gainesville when he went to Cal. I was a year behind him. So I went to UF. I had not such a great college experience in terms of GPA. In terms of overall experience, I had an absolute blast. So I won't share with you my GPA because it's discouraging to say the least. But and I started at St. John Newman. Anyone from St. John Newman by chance? There you go. Go Eagles. Nice. All right. Columbus. Then went to UF. I actually changed my major at UF 3 times in one day. So it was like a new record. I was that unsure of what I wanted to do for a living. I went back, they called the admissions hall or whatever. I walked in, I changed my major. I went home, had lunch. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. I went back, I changed it again, and then I went back right before they closed their office. 3 times in one day. So kind of like towards the back end of college, I don't know, junior year, I joined a business club, and I was like, you know what? I think I probably belong. I knew I wasn't gonna be a doctor. Well, my grades dictated I was not gonna be a doctor. And I was like, you know, I think I'm gonna be a business guy, right? And when I said business, like I didn't know anything about business, right? So my father was an accountant, right? So I didn't have the GPA to get into the accounting school. So I said, I guess I just have to get a bachelor's. So there's 2 degrees when you get to college usually. There's a BA and a BSBA. BA is a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration, and then a BSBA is a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. So I got to be, and by the way, another thing for you, I know UF now is really hard to get into. It was hard, I guess it was hard to get into back then, but I got into UF with a 3-digit SAT score. Don't ask me how, but literally never cracked 1,000 and got into University of Florida. And it was not in athletics, it was not from any of those things. It was a lot of clubs, it was a lot of activities. I think I wasn't the class president, but I was something, what is that called? Student council or SAC?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so I was on SAC and I did all those things. I was the only gringo in the Spanish Honor Society. I'm very proud of that one. The point of it is like, and again, I know you have now, it's very hard to convince you, but all of these things that Ms. Anderson's helping you with, that stuff matters, right? That's the kind of no effort except just showing up to meetings that'll actually help you get places. Because a 3-digit SAT score ain't gonna get you a lot of places. So I was at UF for a while. That was in '99 when I graduated. I graduated 4 years. I went to summer school for 4 years in college to graduate on time. So and I took some extra credit as well. And then I went to go. So my story is I figured I was going to get a degree in finance. So I was like, I'm going to be a wealth manager, right? I'm going to manage people's money. I actually had an internship. That's right. I interned for a company called Merrill Lynch, which is now part of Bank of America. It's called B of A Merrill Lynch. I interned for them, and I had 2 job offers out of college. I had a Merrill Lynch offer, and then I had an offer from Morgan Stanley. So that's the #1 and #2 largest wealth management, companies in the world. The starting salary, one was $22,000, and the other was, I think, $19,500. And this is in the '90s, not the '60s. All right, this is like. Actually, I did this year. This is my 30th high school reunion is this year too. So it sounds crazy, but yeah, $19,000. Minimum wage was $7 an hour. So when we would bartend or when we would work at bars or whatever, it was $7 an hour is what we made. So I'm working at a job, and this is like ties into like hospitality, ties into like life in general. The whole speech is. So I'm working at a job fair to make money at University of Florida. It's like a job fair, right? So all the companies come in and they set up their booths and all that kind of stuff. And there's a woman that's walking in through the door. She has a big old box and stuff. And I said, let me get the door for you. You look like you're having trouble carrying it. And she said, oh my God, thank you so much. I said, yeah, where are you going? No, I'm at booth 13. I was like, yeah, I'll walk you over there. So she's like, oh, you should come back and talk to me about a job. And I was like, like, what do you do? She's, we're a winery. I was like, I've never drank wine in my life. I don't know anything about wine. I'm from Kendall. Like, I literally never saw people drink wine. I didn't know anything about it. And she's like, you should just shut up. She literally like coerced me. She's like, just shut up and come talk to me about a job. I said, all right, so I'll come back. So I came back and literally, we talked for like 30 minutes. I was like, oh, this is actually fairly interesting. And then she also offered, she's like, you should come to our recruiting seminar in Atlanta. And I go, okay, well, I guess I'll go to Atlanta. She's like, we'll pay for your flight and we'll pay for your hotel. I said, okay, great, right? So, this sounds, whatever. All you guys come from different backgrounds. Whatever. I had never stayed in a hotel in my life, all right? We didn't have any money when we grew up. Like, we weren't poor, but we didn't have a lot of money. So I'd never stayed in a hotel. I'd stayed in like a motel, like the little like 1-story drive up, like old school, but I'd never stayed in a hotel in my life. And she said, the meeting's at the Ritz-Carlton in Atlanta. And I just heard Ritz-Carlton. I was like, I don't know what she's selling, but I'm going to the Ritz-Carlton, right? And so literally is, how do you end up, it's like the beginning to this, story for both of us is open the door for a woman and ended up working for a winery, right? So like, one of the morals of the story is open the door for women, okay? Because you never know where that might lead you. And it's all the other things in life that'll sometimes add up to something, all right? So I spent 13 years at that company. We'll go back and forth here a little bit. They sent me to Palm Beach. I grew up in Kendall. Never really traveled much, never really went anywhere. They sent me to Palm Beach for a year. I lived in Charleston, South Carolina for a year. I moved to Charlotte for like 5 years. When I was in Charlotte, I was working. I went back to business school. It was my redemption because remember I told you how bad my GPA was and how embarrassing. I took out a loan on my own dime, $120,000. I got an MBA from Wake Forest. I graduated top of the class. So I knew that deep down I could actually be smart when I wanted to and focus. But also it was my money and not my parents' money that I was spending. So I definitely thought about things differently. And so after I graduated from Wake Forest, another crazy story, right? So I told you I was part of the Spanish Honor Society. So I was the only gringo in the Spanish Honor Society. Mr. Pedro Cousin, who's I think still runs it, I don't know, but now he's one of the deans, still one of my favorite people. I get called to a meeting when I'm working in Charlotte, North Carolina. The CEO of the winery calls me, and he says, "Hey, I want you to come meet me for breakfast." I go, "Okay." I was like, immediately thought I was in trouble. It's like getting a call from like Mr. Khrushchev or somebody, right? Like, you're in trouble. So I drive down and go meet him for breakfast, and I was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" Like we have expense reports. We have to submit receipts to get reimbursed and stuff for money we spent. I thought I spent too much money. I thought I did something wrong, right? I thought I was in trouble. And he goes, he's like, "Hey, you speak Spanish, don't you?" I go, Yeah. I went to school in Westchester. All my friends are Cuban. I was like, "Yeah, I speak Spanish." And he goes, "Cool." He's like, "You're moving to Tokyo, Japan." I go, "Okay." I was like, and it literally did. I was like, "Do they speak Spanish in Tokyo, Japan?" I don't know. But because I spoke Spanish, which, I grew up down here, I figured I should probably understand Spanish, so I took Spanish. But because I took Spanish, I got the chance to move to the other side of the world to go work for a company that was gonna pay for it, right? And this is also only because I opened the door for a woman, right? Nothing to do with education, nothing to do with MOS program or GPA, none of that. Just from doing other things, right, than schoolwork. So literally spent 4 years in Tokyo, had an office in Tokyo, had an office in Hong Kong, traveled to 60 countries, so same thing, doing the same thing that Frank does. We make, hopefully none of you guys, I'm sure have ever drank anything in your life. Wine comes from grapes, those are grapevines. We were the largest winery in the world. We would take these grapes, we make cases of grapes, cases of bottles of wine, and then my job was to manage people and sell that all over the world, right? So literally, this is laser pointer now. Okay. This is Shuichi and John. John was our country manager in Japan. This is in Hiroshima. That's Sho lived in Fukuoka. This is Bora Bora. They said, "Hey, we want to sell wine in Bora Bora." I had no idea where Bora Bora was. Flew to Bora Bora and figured out how to sell wine there. This is our distributor. So we talked about distributors that sell wine and they sell things. They also sell meat. This is our distributor in Vietnam. He sold cattle and he sold my wine. So literally spent the day running around Vietnam trying to sell our wine. Again, only because I spoke Spanish, but just newsflash, they don't speak Spanish in Vietnam. And this is June, this is in Laos. We went to Laos to try and figure out how to sell wine in Laos. Fast forward, I was with them for 13 years. We moved back to California. I got a call from a company that Frank knows very well. It's a company called The Odds, but High Noon, by the way, is one of the brands that we used to make. High Noon, a bunch of different wine brands. Again, you guys probably hopefully don't know anything about that. So this is one of the coolest. So this was our IT guy in London at our office. I just saw the full picture. Literally, I'm on a lunch break in London, and the guy's like, "Hey, you want to go fly in an airplane during the break?" He was fixing my laptop for me. And I was like, "Yeah, man, that sounds great. Let's go do it." So this is a World War II airport outside of London on a grass field, and he's a stunt pilot. And so, just because you're a nice dude, talking to the IT guy who everyone else treats like shit, took me up in his airplane and flew me all around London for the day. Had literally one of the best days of my life. This is India. Spent a lot of time in India. This is the Maldives. Sold a bunch of wine in the Maldives. I don't know if you know where that is. One of the greatest places in the world. This is Dubai. So that's all in the wine business. So then I said, all right, let me go figure out spirits, right? So spirits, again, the tie-in for hospitality is every time your parents go out, every time you go to a hotel, every time you go to a restaurant, every time you go on a cruise, people are eating, people are drinking. All of these things come from different places, right? Wine, Coca-Cola, steaks, all that stuff feeds into the end user, which is at a restaurant or on a cruise. So went to go work for the world's largest spirits company. We made all kinds of different things. Johnny Walker, we made Smirnoff, we made all these different things down here in Miami. Same as, so then Frank and I reconnected. I think we ran into each other at firms.
Yeah.
You know, we were in Tampa, we were both doing different things, we ran into each other at the best restaurant, one of the best restaurants in the world, in Tampa, and it was like, holy cow, then we started talking, and we started like working on stuff together. And then, so we launched a vodka brand, this is probably about 5 years ago. So we sponsored NASCAR, that was our car, we sponsored the race in Homestead, that was our race, it was called the Dixie Vodka 400. So all of these different things that, again, like, the tie-in here is you're in this room because you don't know what you want to do, right? There's so many businesses around that you don't even think of, and just to your point here is I found this the other day. So the company that Frank talked about, this is Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. This is the top 10 largest private companies in the entire United States, okay? This one right here, Southern Glazers, is right in our backyard. They're up in Miramar. There's another one on here in Publix, right? So $26 billion in revenue. Okay, it's the 10th largest company. The owner of this company is the Chaplin family. He's the top 5 wealthiest individual American in the country. Same thing, the owner of the winery I worked at, the top 10 wealthiest individual in the United States that you've never heard of. Everyone knows Elon Musk, everybody knows, you know, whoever, right? But these are, you call these stealthy wealthy, right? Large private companies in the hospitality industry and all these things that you don't even think about. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of jobs that you guys aren't even considering, right? And so,
Let's jump into, like, this is a good segue to this, I have a question. So like, who's leaning towards accounting in this? Just raise your hand, you guys, okay, so a couple guys, right? How about marketing and advertising? Anybody in here? Okay. Finance, marketing. All right, let's go, let me go back, I'll tell you guys a quick story. It's a good segue because this is how it all fits in, right? Go back to the first slide where, okay, right here, okay? No, next one, yeah, there, okay. So you guys know Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul, right? They're the guys from Breaking Bad, okay? They came up with this product called that bottle, right? So let's go through the whole, how does hospitality play into all of these segments of the business, right? So even logistics, does anybody want to get into logistics and maybe that world? Kind of thinking about it, okay? So logistics, finance, marketing, and advertising, okay? Those three kind of verticals of career path that you can take, okay? Go back to the slide. Go up. Great. One more. Okay. So I'll tell you a quick story. So what do you use the actors for, right? Like what do actors and alcohol have to do with anything, right? The basis for having those actors on the team in terms of them creating the product, yeah, they wanted to continue to work together. Their story is that when they left Breaking Bad, they wanted to work together again. But they knew that they couldn't do a show because that's like saying, you know, taking Batman and Robin and putting them in a Spider-Man movie. Like, you know, like you're the same characters just moving off to another kind of show or movie, right? So they knew they couldn't do something together. So they said, you know what, let's get into business together. Let's create a mezcal company. That's where they called me. That's how I get in touch with them, and that's what the product that we created, which is Los Hombres. But now going into those verticals that I was talking to you guys about and how it's important that you guys understand that hospitality is everything that you guys can actually look at, right? So we're using the actors as promoters of the brand, right? Because they have 10 million followers on Instagram. They post a picture, 10 million people see it. You get, you know, some play to the brand. You get some exposure, you know, advertising, right? So we're in Orlando, actually. The trip started in Orlando, and we're doing a promotion. I get a call, a random phone call from this guy who, I don't know if you guys have heard of Live Nightclub. Have you ever heard of Live or Fountain Blue, that stuff, right? The guy that owns that, his name is Dave Grutman. Him and I used to pass out nightclub flyers back in the day when I was just in college trying to make some money. And now he's a conglomerate restaurateur, and he says, hey, I have a birthday party that I think you guys should be at in Miami. I'm in Orlando. And I'm like, and I have a bunch of things scheduled to promote the brand. And he goes, listen, it's gonna get you guys a ton of exposure. Get down to Miami, you know, find a way to get down to Miami, and then you just fly up again. So unbeknownst to me, he calls me back and he says, hey, I'm gonna tell you who the birthday party is. It's great. You know, he loves the Breaking Bad show. Come and, you know, we'll do some stuff and get some advertising out of it. I was like, all right. So I immediately start figuring out, do we take the bright line? There's no, the timing is bad. Do we take a, American Airlines flight? Again, the timing is bad. The only way we can get down to this guy's party is by taking a private jet. And by the way, these guys don't own a private jet. They don't fly private. So then, immediately, I have to call my CFO of the company and say, hey, we need to find the dollars to charter a plane, get us down to Miami, meet with Drake to get the promotional support that we need for the brand, and fly back. My accountant is the one that said, okay, we're gonna move this money around because you only have so much money. These brands don't have this huge bucket of money that you could just fly private jets around the country and figure it out. So we fly down in the middle of, like, after the last event ended, we go to a private airport, get on a plane, fly down to Miami, meet with Drake, okay? The guy takes, the pictures that we took with Drake that day are the most exposure we've had on social media ever. The guy has, I don't know how many millions of followers, and he posts a picture of our brand with these guys on his birthday. Again, the marketing, the CFO, look how many people had to get involved to make this thing happen. Then we fly back to Orlando at the same day. We literally were with him for about 2-3 hours, did the whole promotional thing, got the pictures we needed, sent those pictures off to our promotional, the agencies, the people that do the marketing and advertising for us, and of course, the CFO to pay for the plane to get us down here and get us back. So it kind of leads into this whole picture, so you guys will have an understanding that it's not just about going to be a bartender. It's not so much about going into finance. You need those backgrounds a little bit to be able to go into other facets of this, let's just use hospitality. But at the same time, being an attorney, other companies in manufacturing need attorneys. Other companies in manufacturing need CFOs to run the company. You need to be able to say, okay, I'm gonna be an accountant or I'm gonna be in marketing, but I really like, logistics, or I really like the hospitality segment of the business where it's a little more fun. So just keep that in mind when we're going through this conversation about these companies and how these things work. Because it's not just a bunch of sales guys selling booze. There's a whole entire company behind it to actually make the product get to the locations, produce the product, pay for the sales reps, make the investment in the logistics side of the business. So there's a lot of that to build this company.
Yeah, and so we have time for questions and stuff. I think, again, is all of that stuff that Frank's talking about, I would say is somewhat boring, right? Quote unquote boring, but behind the scenes. But boring means money, right? I just read this today, it blew my mind today, right? I'll tell you, the externship or internship that I'd be bugging Miss Anderson about. L Car Wash, I just read it in the paper. L Car Wash has 300,000 subscriptions at $30 a piece for people that don't even check their credit card, that probably never get their car washed. That's $9 million a year in recurring revenue just on subscriptions, right? Has anyone ever driven by an L Car Wash and not seen 5 cars online, right? But more importantly, have you ever thought about that business as something you want to do? Again, it's outside the hospitality realm, but it's a boring business, okay? But don't worry about sexy so much, don't worry about flash and pomp and circumstance. These things behind the scenes, these quiet distributor businesses that no one talks about, there's a ton of money to be made, and they're looking for people like all of us, the guys that don't want to be doctors, the guys that don't want to be lawyers, etc. And the last thing we'll open for questions is if you're whoever the salutatorian and the valedictorian are, I don't know, I doubt they're in here, but if they are, fantastic. If you're not those top 5 guys, and that's great if you are, all of this stuff is what matters. The soft stuff, soft skills is what matters, right? It requires 0 talent. Be on time when you say when you're supposed to be somewhere, even Miami time. I know everyone's late, be on time. Work ethic. Frank's handed out flyers in college. I have a bar back and I pay for my own degree in school. I had 7 jobs in high school. I literally worked at a horse farm during high school in the summers. I did roofing, okay? So work ethic, effort, right? If you're gonna do it right, right? My son might hate it, but if I make him iron his shirt, he's gotta redo the collar until it's perfect. If If you're gonna do it right. Body language, if you're slouched over, if you shake my hand and it's all wet and slimy and you don't squeeze a little bit, right? Like, what's that tell me about you? Stick your chest out, right? Look someone in the eye. These are all the soft skills type stuff. Energy. When you walk in a room, do people want to talk to you, right? How do you present yourself? Attitude, are you positive? No one wants to be around someone that's negative. Passion, be passionate about whatever you do, be coachable. If you make a mistake and someone tells you something about it, don't give them an excuse. Say, yes, sir, right? Just say, yes, sir. Look them in the eye and say, yes, I got it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Be coachable, do extra. If someone asks you to do one thing, get it done, say, what else can I do for you, right? Go the extra mile and be prepared. Again, like, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I opened the door for a woman, and it took me all over the world. Frank and I started a business together because of it. I took Spanish Honor Society, not because I had to, because I did extra credit, I did extra things because I knew my GPA wasn't good enough, I knew my SAT score wasn't gonna be good enough, right? All that stuff is gonna matter, and all the stuff that Ms. Anderson helps you with is what's gonna actually ultimately get you where you wanna be, okay? And that's about, I think, all we got, so.
So any questions, you know, go back to some of the slides, maybe you have some questions on the pictures and some of the things that we're doing. You know, one of the cool things is that we did I thought when we were at Dixie Vodka together, when we had the racing team, I was like, holy shit, we made it. When we had the team, I was like, holy shit, we made it. We signed the contract, and then we got on a call again with the people from NASCAR and said, okay, hey, thank you guys for signing the contract. Now, you guys gotta spend another couple $1 million promoting you guys are part of the client. I was like, wait a minute, what? I thought this was it. I thought we signed the contract, we pay you the money, and then you get all this stuff. I'm like, no, man, this is just the beginning. So, life happens fast. You make good decisions, make bad decisions, but look, we turned it around. It was a bad decision at the time, but we turned it around. And sometimes it doesn't go to plan. That's how we ended up here. We left school thinking, okay, we didn't know what we were gonna do. We're gonna go into finance. I went to work at Yahoo, and you think, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Don't be afraid to take that extra step and say, okay, you know what? I did this for a while. I kind of like it, but I see that there's other opportunities for me out there. You have to always keep your mind open to those type of opportunities.
Yeah, how many of you guys speak Spanish? All right. What's the percentage of Dade County that speaks Spanish?
A lot.
95%, right? So that skill in Miami is pretty useless, right? Not useless, but it's not that valued, right? What percentage of people speak Spanish in Charlotte, North Carolina? 5, 10. In Atlanta, 5, 10. Dallas might be higher, closer to Mexico. The point of it is like some of the skills that here don't necessarily translate very well other places, right? I never in a million years thought I was gonna live. I lived in 5 states, lived overseas. I love Miami to death. I ended up coming back here. It's a great place, 305, all that kind of stuff. There's a whole world out there. Like, it's great to come back here, but don't be scared to go try something new, something you're not comfortable with. More importantly, somewhere where you don't know anybody. There's a whole world out there. And it's literally, that skill alone of just speaking Spanish is an enormous asset to you. Not in Miami-Dade County, because everyone's got to speak Spanish here, but New York, Denver, Chicago, major metropolitan cities where if you're bilingual, like that's a massive plus for you guys, all right? It helped, again, it got me a job I had no business getting. And it really didn't translate at all. I don't know why they gave me it, but literally, it's a huge asset to you, so go figure out. Don't be afraid. Don't just come running back to mommy and daddy Miami. Go take a job in New York. Go take a job in Charlotte. There's a whole world out there.
When you're in school, it's pass or fail, right? It's getting good grades, trying not to get a bad grade. In life, when you go out into this business, in our world, in the business world in general, not every brand works. Not every company works. But you have to be brave enough that knowing that there is failure out there. And you have to accept sometimes that things don't work out. Sometimes some of these brands that we represent, it doesn't work out. But we don't stop. At the end of the day, we know that that we know that some of these things are gonna fail, and we're not afraid of that. Two actors from Breaking Bad wanna make a mezcal. I tell you that, just think about that. What do two actors have to do with making alcohol a product? Nothing. They have no connection to it. They don't even speak Spanish, and they're selling a Mexican-made product. But you go and you roll the dice. It's okay. It's okay to roll the dice. And it's taken, who would have thought? Think about it. I met Drake. Okay, I don't listen. I listen to his music because my son, but he's one of the most famous people on the planet. And I got to hang out with him and have dinner with him on his birthday. Eating cake with the guy. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? And if I didn't take that chance at the beginning and said, you know what, I'm gonna give this a go, I would have never had that experience. And if I would have stayed at Yahoo, I would have not had the experiences that we've had. If you would have stayed gone into Morgan Stanley, you would have never seen half the world. So sometimes it doesn't go to plan, is what I'm trying to tell you. It doesn't go to plan all the time. But you gotta be able to say, okay, you know what? What defines, I think, us as men here in this room, and even women, it's not how successful you are. Yeah, you can be successful, that's great, good job. But you know what, I think a measure of a man, a woman, is when they fail, how they get up, and they scrub themselves off, and they go try again. And that's one of the most important parts of life, because that's how it is. Life is not always gonna go to plan. Some of our friends said when they were born, they said, oh, I wanna be a pilot. God bless them, man, good for you. Some of you guys will leave this room, go to college, become an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, and 5 years, 3 years, whatever into it, you're like, I hate this stupid thing. I hate it. I don't want to do this anymore. And you have to know that there's other opportunities out there for whatever you study. Accounting, law, marketing and advertising. There's different facets, because this business, this hospitality business, is a lot more fun, I think, because I'm in it, than some of just being in an office, in a cubicle all day, pushing paper. The guys that work in our industry, the guys that run the hotels, the CFOs of the hotels industry, for example, these guys, they move all over the country. They get to travel the world. We're opening up a hotel in Dubai. Okay, we're gonna send, Jackson. Jackson's gonna go now, and he's gonna be the CFO of the hotel in Dubai. He could have been worked at an accounting firm in Miami, and he could have had a great life, but he would have never experienced that if he didn't take that chance.
Yeah, and I think to that point is, I use the analogy a lot of sports, right? So you can't use the playbook that Frank and I use, because that playbook won't work for you, meaning whoever likes football, right? It's like using the old 1970s NFL playbook to try to work in 2025 against the Chiefs. It's not gonna work, right? Patrick Mahomes is gonna eat you alive, unless you're the whatever the Eagles. But the point of it is hospitality as an industry, and Miami, by the way, is a hotbed for hospitality. So when you think about the future of AI, I just watched a special with Elon Musk. He said by 2030, he's gonna sell 10 million robots, and we're all gonna have robots in our homes, right? AI is gonna replace a lot of what doctors do. I was out to dinner with 2 doctors on Saturday night. They're petrified. They're terrified about AI. Why? One guy's a radiologist. What's a radiologist do? They look at x-rays, right? The computer's already better looking at x-rays than he is, okay? He's out of a job. My brother's a pilot, right? By the end of, not my life, the end of your guys' life, you will be flying on drones. There will be no pilots. There'll be a pilot, he'll sit in an office and he'll control maybe 10 or so at once. But pilot job, that job's gone, right? So you can't use the playbook that we use. You gotta think ahead and use your own playbook. Point being is, in 30 years, are people gonna still get together in some fashion, right? Are you still gonna commune as people? Get together, probably eat together. We all have to eat to survive. That's hospitality, right? You're probably gonna still go on some type of vacation. Maybe it's Mars with Musk, who knows? That's hospitality, right? You're still gonna go somewhere on a trip. You're still gonna eat something together. You're still gonna gather as a family, gather with friends. Our industry is gonna change for sure, but I can also assure you it'll be around, right? There's other industries that just won't be around, right? So again, don't use a playbook. Don't use an old playbook. Use a new playbook. Think ahead in terms of where industry and where things are going.
guys have any questions, concerns, anything that you saw that you guys wanna ask us about, you know, some of the events that we've done, some of the brands that we do? Sure.
I wanted to ask about EG Vodka.
Yeah.
I know that that owner is also the owner of a boat brand.
Yes, yeah, so he's not the owner of the boat brand, he actually has, it's called an HCB, Los Sueños, it's a big boat and he has it branded. So that's also branding, right? Look at that, you know, that brand, it stayed in your mind because of the promotion that he had on the truck, on the boat, I'm sorry. That sticks with you. That's the stickiness of the market that you remember. A lot of you guys can, you know, there's slogans and lingos that you hear on commercials. That stickiness of that marketing is that those concepts and ideas came from a group of people in a room that said, hey, let's come up with a slogan, you know, or whatever brand, you know, just do it for Nike. That didn't just happen. There was a group of guys and girls in a room that came up with that concept. And now when you see the swoosh or the just do it, that's marketing and advertising. And that's the kind of the same thing that happened with that. Is that thing that, you know, the jet, the boat, he thought that would be sticky enough that people would see it. And that's how it happened. Good question. I haven't thought of it in a while. Any other questions, guys?
No questions? All right, let's thank our speakers. We have a lot of kids coming and saying they're interested in hospitality, they want to do an externship in hospitality. We have a little bit of an issue with age, alcohol. Are there part-time jobs? Are there just would those jobs equate better, help them along the way if they did want to break into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, none of you want to hear the answer. I mean, what externship did I just tell you I want? El Carlos, right? So, what's the answer to hospitality? Go wash dishes, bro. None of you want to do that, but that's the answer. Go wash dishes. Go work in the kitchen. Go, literally all of the big flashy pictures that we showed you and all the stuff that he showed you about hanging out with Drake, you know where it started? Yeah. I got done with UF, and they sent me to go work at Publix at Winn-Dixie. I used to take the wine out of the box and put it on the shelf. That's super sexy, right? Like, that's hot, right?
5 a.m. in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, be there before the customers got there.
4 a.m. in a Sam's Club with a pallet jack. I know none of you guys even know what a pallet jack is, like, but that's how you start. Go work in a kitchen. Go work in a grocery store. Look, the third biggest private company in all of the United States is Publix. By the way, look at this is the top 10 biggest private companies in America. Start at number 1, food and drink. Number 3, food. Number 4, Mars Candy. Number 5 is a grocery store. Number 6 is a distributor that sells beer. Number 8 is a food distributor. Number 10 is the distributor that sells food and wine. It's right in your face. It's literally right in your face. It's not that. The benefit of, if anyone in here rose, stuck their hand and said, I want to be an investment banker, I would tell you that you have to be, Ms. Anderson knows very well, you have to be top 4 or 5 in your class. University of Florida is barely good enough. You really have to go to probably about 5 schools in the country. You all know which ones they are, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, whatever. And then there's basically 3 companies that you have to work for to make it. That's it. Goldman Sachs, Stearns, whatever, that's it. And it's basically like it's a private members club that you can't get into. This club right here, this boring, stealthy, wealthy club, goes right to this list right here. Work hard, shake people's hands, open the door for women, say please and thank you, look people in the eye. I guarantee you, the founder of Publix, his name is Ed Kopp. That guy didn't go to Harvard, all right? What building is this? What's the name of this building? The what? Marquette. So where did Lamone go to college? Went to Marquette, okay? Didn't go to Harvard, didn't go to Yale. We didn't have the Moss program back then. It was called Phase 4 or whatever. He was not a Phase 4 student. what was he, Nick? He was like a regular phase 3 guy, right?
Regular old Joe.
Regular old Joe. Mario Suarez, his partner, who the building's named after, regular old Joe. By the way, both of them nicest guys in the world. Mario lives, his office up on A Street. He works for Geico, sells car insurance, okay? Ain't no moss kids, no whatever. Literally regular people that did this stuff and worked hard. I know you guys don't want to hear the answer, but that's the answer. Because a lot of other people, you gotta be willing to do the stuff people don't want to do, right? So unfortunately for you guys, but that's the answer. Go clean dishes.
Yeah, you gotta start at the bottom.
Go work at Publix.
Because that's the kind of the proving ground for all these companies. You know, you start off on Southern, the largest distributor in the country, you don't start off as the VP of sales.
A car wash is the stupidest business in the world. Like, it's literally the dumbest business in the world. Like, I'm sure the first chore your parents gave you as a kid, if you even had a chore, was your mom said, go wash my car, right? It's literally the dumbest business in the world. El Car Wash was acquired for $32 million. Do you think he went to Harvard? I promise you he did. Work hard, man, that's all it is. And do the please and thank you and open doors for people. That's what it takes, man.
Kevin, you're too modest to say this, but Kevin Test is the incoming president of the Alumni Association. And I would put our alumni against anybody across the country, not just in terms of high schools, but across the universities as well, right? The most connected, the most powerful, the most influential by far. So can you talk a little bit about how you being connected to the alumni network has helped you professionally, and Frank, as well as an executive member of the committee?
This is a true story. This is in French Polynesia. This is a true story. It's not a Columbus story, but it's a Marist story. I emailed the guy, he wouldn't email me back. He has the largest distributor. This, by the way, if you know where French Polynesia is halfway between here and Australia, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. The guy wouldn't email me back. Hey man, I'd like to come meet you. I'm coming down. I'd like you to look at our wine, etc. I went on LinkedIn or I Googled his name or something, and this is being resourceful, right? I know sometimes it's hard for you guys to be resourceful. It's amazing what you can find when you want to find things. It's also amazing how dumb some of you guys can act when you need to find stuff. When you're going to apply for a job, who are you going to go meet with? Where do you go to college? Where did he or she, what did they study? Where are they from? When you walk in and you go meet the person. Hey, what's up, man? Oh, you're from Palm Beach. I used to live in Palm Beach, right? All that stuff matters. That's called just being resourceful and thinking.
Give me a second. How many have a LinkedIn profile in this room? All right.
Half.
Yeah,
So
half.
point being is I Googled him, I looked him up. He went to a Marist High School. It's called Marist High School. It's in French Polynesia. I said, hey man, I said, no, the fourth email, I said, hey, I noticed you went to Marist High School. I said, I went to Marist High School in Miami, Florida, you know, et cetera, and I got an email back, and we got a meeting, and I sold the guy 5 containers of wine, right? Whatever, small win, but it came from just, that's the Marist network. In terms of alumni, in terms of Columbus, is any alumni, especially on LinkedIn, we've done a great job of tagging all of our alumni. Nick's office has done an incredible job as well. If you can go, you can learn this on LinkedIn, you can sort companies, you can sort people by job, by company. The one company here is Southern Wine Spirits. So this is, again, the 10th largest company in the entire United States. We have probably 15 to 20 alumni there. Half of those guys make almost 7 figures a year, okay? 7, just so you know, that's $1 million. They basically run that company. If you email them and you say adelante, they will email you back, right? If you apply for a job at Southern, don't just hope and pray. Find someone that went to Columbus in that company and email them. Say, hey man, by the way, I applied for this job. It would be great if I could know who the hiring manager is. It'd be great for me to come in and meet you personally. I really appreciate it, you know, et cetera, adelante. If he doesn't email you back, I will give you my email address. You tell me who it is, and I'll go find him, and I will make sure he emails you back. All right? Literally, 9 out of 10 of us will always return a phone call, will always return an email for a fellow Columbus guy. All right? And it is truly powerful. I flew halfway around the world. And that's the Marist network, and I met another dude that went to a Marist High School. By the way, we went out that night, we had an absolute blast. Bought me dinner, absolute blast.
One thing, get on LinkedIn, build your profile, start following some of the guys that are on there that are Columbus graduates, because eventually when you get out of college, you could always go back and ping them and say, you know, hey, I went to Columbus, I just graduated from whatever college, I love the company you work for, can you tell me something about it? I promise you, that guy's gonna respond, I promise you.
And if he doesn't, tell us,
Tell
and
us.
we'll go track him down and make sure
So
you.
get a LinkedIn page, you know, put your profile up there, you know, it's something that's important, and follow some of the guys that are in there. You know, you could look it up, by high school, and then you could just follow some of the guys that are maybe in your industry, if it's accounting, if it's hospitality, if it's, you know, law. You could follow these guys, and they'll know that you're following them, and they'll see that you went to Christopher Columbus High School. I promise you, you're gonna get a follow back, or maybe even a letter back saying, hey, I see you went to Columbus, good luck to you, I see you're about to graduate, congratulations. You'll get something in response, I promise you.
If you email or send us something on LinkedIn and you don't have Columbus on there also, I won't respond to you until you put it on, right? So I always tell people as part of our network, I hate to say it, is you're either kind of with us or against us. We're a bit of a gang, right? We're a bit of a, it's a culture, it's a thing. But make sure you call out the fact that you went to Columbus, right? So don't try to use the network, and don't try to use the alumni base without being proud of displaying the fact that you're part of Columbus, right?
Any questions, guys? Awesome, guys. Thank you guys for your time.